Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to make this today, and I'll take you through my process. Now, throughout this tutorial, if you have any questions on what keys I'm using, it will just be down here. And for this, I thought I'd also use a tablet, like a Wacom tablet, just to try it out, and also to get rid of some of those annoying clicks throughout it. All right. So first of all, let's just delete everything, and then I'm going to put in a plane, and now I'm going to scale it to about 10. I'm going to go in and I'm going to subdivide this about 5 times. Okay, once we have that, let's apply a displacement to this. Let's go new, and that's in the textures, let's go cloud. I'm just going to come up to here, change that to object. Now that we have this, so from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in a circle path, and I'm going to scale that about 10, maybe scale that a little bit more. Okay, I'm also going to add in an empty, and come into the constraints, and then add a path, follow path, and choose the circle that we've made before. Okay, so from there, let's just add in a keyframe for the path. So let's just press I, and then come to the very last frame, and then type in 100, and also press I to insert that keyframe. So now that we have that, this empty should go around this circle 100%. Okay, let's come back to the displacement, and let's just change that to object on the coordinates, and the object's going to be that empty. So now that we have that, this empty just here is going to be controlling this displacement. So now if we come back down to the textures, I'm just going to turn this up probably to about 5. I'm also just going to smooth shade this, just like that. And on the depth, I'm probably just going to take that depth down to 0. So now that we have this here, okay, if I want to slow this down a little bit more, I'm simply just going to scale this in. So that's going to go a bit slower, just like that. And if you want to add a bit more randomness to the controls, just rotate this. Just try placing this places, and that's just going to add some different constraints for it to follow. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to come back to the modifiers, and let's add in a subdivision surface. Now I want a setting in here that you only can get when you change it to cycles, the render engine, and also under the feature set to experimental. Now when I come back to the subdivision, I'm going to have adaptive. Let's turn that on. I'm just going to leave it at 1. Okay, so I'm also going to add in a camera, and once I have that, I'm going to push Control Alt 0. So now let's add the fins into this mesh. So if I come over to the shading, come back a bit, let's turn the material on. I might just check that into rendered. Okay, let's add a new material to this. Now I'm just going to focus on the displacement for now. I'm just going to take this, let's add in a displacement, let's add in a noise, let's plug that into the height, and now let's add in a separate XYZ. And plug the Y into the vector. Now if I also add in, if I just push Control T with the node wrangler enabled, that's going to give me these 2 nodes. I'm just going to delete that one, and then so you can see we're starting to get those lines across here. I'm just going to change UV to object. Now you can see that we're starting to get those lines just down here. And now to make that actually displace, let's come down to the material, let's also come down to the settings, and then under the settings in displacement, change that to displacement bump. Now you can see that we're starting to get that effect. So just to tame this a little bit, I'm just going to turn this displacement down probably to about half. Okay, so we're pretty much 90% of the way there. Okay, I'm just going to take this to material just so we can see what we're doing. So we'll just color, pretty much just like add a color to this. So for that, I'm just going to add in a color ramp, and then I'm also going to add in a gradient. So that's going to give us a gradient across this texture just here. So if I just pull that in, I might change this to B-spline, just feather it a bit more. Okay, so this mesh here is very taxing on your computer, so it's going to take quite a bit to render, but in the next tutorial, I'll show you guys how to speed up your renders by quite a bit. Okay, so now that I have this, I'll just pretty much just add in a little bit of orange, a little bit of red, just like that. So as you can see, we're about 99% of the way there. All I'm going to do from here on out is just in the materials, in the world, I'm just going to add, that's not normally there. So normally you just have a background. So I'm just going to push Control T with the node wrangler. That's going to give me an environment texture. And then let's open that. And if you have a HDRI, let's load in one of those. And that's going to just project some lighting onto your mesh. Now I'm just going to add in a sun. And then just turn that sun up probably by about 10. And then just take it off to the side a little bit. Now, if you want to speed this up by quite a bit, I would set my samples to about 50. And then come over to the composite. And then in here, so that's not normally there, that's not normally there. You'll get this. And then in the composite, we're going to add in a denoise. Just plug that in, and then I'm going to add in a view. Plug that into there. And you will need to render a frame to get the view. Okay, so once you have that, I'm going to come over to the view layer, and then come down to the denoise properties, which are going to give me just 2 more outputs just down here. So let's plug these into the corresponding output, and then that's just going to give us a bit more information for the denoise that I work with. So if you do end up making this, please come over to my Instagram and tag me in it, because I'd love to see what type of spin you put on it. And yeah, I'll leave this in the bio down below. Alright, so thanks for watching, and hopefully you learned something.